Hi, I'm Taryn Lupo from TarynLupo.com, and we're about to talk about carnivorous plants. Stay tuned. I've tried to raise carnivorous plants in the past. I've had Venus Flytraps and I've had pitcher plants, and both not with much success. They usually died really fast. So I didn't know you could actually raise them and sell them for a profit. Robert lives in Winchester, New Hampshire, where he grows carnivorous plants, and he also has a small farm where he grows other things. Robert also raises chickens, and to guard his chickens, he got a guard goose named Lexi. Now, Lexi imprinted on him when she was really young and follows him everywhere. You'll even see her disrupt this film many times, to the point where she even tries to eat the microphone.
Flap your wings. My name is Robert, and today we're talking about carnivorous plants and why you might want to grow them. Besides them being extremely beautiful, they are mostly indigenous to the United States, at least the pitchers and the flytraps, and they are severely endangered in the wild due to construction, due to poaching. You could certainly make money on them, growing them and selling them to people who would like them. Pitcher plants are indigenous to all of North America, from up in Canada to far south. Flytraps are indigenous to the Carolinas, Virginia, that area. Severely endangered, and if we would like them to continue to be here, it's grown by people, at their houses, because their habitat is shrinking drastically. Pitcher plants used to be severely endangered because their beauty. They were often picked to put into floral arrangements. That has stopped in the last couple decades, so they are recovering. However, Venus flytraps, which are indigenous only to the Carolinas and the Virginia area, are severely endangered, one due to construction, but mostly now because they're being poached.
The flytraps in the Carolinas are being decimated by poachers. You see, people are taking these flytraps, juicing them, and pressing them to create a product called carnivora. Some people say that the product is a strong cancer-fighting agent.
There are many varieties of pitcher plants. They are grown primarily in a sand, peat moss soil, and you can propagate them by, during their winter dormancy, uprooting them and splitting the roots into new plants. And money can be made by propagating them in this fashion to be sold to the many people who enjoy growing them at home. During the winter, the dormancy cycle of the pitcher plants, they don't put up new pitchers. With pitcher plants, they only put out a certain number in 2 or 3 crops over the season. This is why the poaching them to put them into flower arrangements was so detrimental. The pitchers are necessary to the plant because that's where the bugs go in and are digested by the plant. And since they can't just put them up at will, by cutting them all down to take them for flower arrangements, you're starving the plant. They have the benefit of eating all kinds of bugs around your house. The soil mixture for successfully growing carnivorous plants is very important. Sphagnum peat moss is a very important thing to the plants, but more importantly is the sand. It needs to be a pure quartz sand, and the best place you can get that is pool filter sand. Any kind of sand from Home Depot or wherever else, construction sand, has too many contaminants, and it's not pure quartz sand. The best water for using with carnivorous plants is rainwater. So anything that comes off of your roof, down your gutters, is perfectly fine. They don't tolerate very well domestic water because water that comes out of your faucet is generally full of chlorine and fluoride.
No, Lexi, don't eat that.
Other
No.
things. As I was saying before Lexi made a fuss, domestic water has too many chemicals in it, added to it, that will affect your carnivorous plants, so it's best to use rainwater. Typically, you wouldn't grow these plants from seed because it takes far too many years for them to get to any size that's appreciable. Typically, you would buy a grown plant. This is where the money-making opportunity comes from. You would buy a grown plant from someone else that's 4 to 5 years old, and it would be, you know, about this big as a pitcher plant, or, you know, one adult flytrap, which will take 2 to 3 years to become an adult. I also have a plant called Nepenthes, which is from the islands north of Australia. They are lowland, midland, and highland species that grow in all different conditions, but the one thing that they all like is a very high humidity, so I tend to keep them in a plastic bag type of thing that acts as a greenhouse. The plastic I use specifically is the plastic that you put up on your windows during the wintertime because it doesn't allow moisture to transpire between outside and inside. This is a pitcher plant flower, and it's actually missing other petals that would be in between. That causes a bee to climb inside here, and it can't find its way out, and so it spins around and around and around, pollinating the seed area of the flower before it figures out how to escape the flower. To us, these fine little hairs are very soft, but to an insect they're like sharp little needles, and they're all pointed inwards, so the insect goes down and can't come back up. Once it passes the threshold, you can see it's glossy right here at the lip, it becomes very slippery, and they fall down into the digestive fluid. The anatomy of the pitcher itself is very important. Underneath the top here, it's very hard to see, but there's millions of little tiny sharp little hairs. The pitcher will put out a sweet liquid along the lip. The insects come to taste the liquid. They crawl too far in, and it has all these white spots which look like windows, so the insect doesn't realize that it's going inside. When it goes inside, the inside of the top of the pitcher is also covered with these little hairs that point down, so the insect can't crawl back out. It eventually works its way down the pitcher, down into the base, where the plant secretes digestive fluids to eat the insects. So you might be able to see each fly trap has 4 hairs. These are trigger hairs. There's one there, and they're on the other side. And when these hairs are tickled, the trap closes. And the teeth act like bars. The more an insect struggles inside there, the tighter the trap goes. The more the hairs are tickled, the tighter the trap goes until the lip seals shut, and then the plant secretes digestive juices to eat the insect. The interesting part is, once it eats a fly or whatever bug landed there and is eaten, the trap will reopen, because each trap can open once, and a spider like a daddy longlegs will come along and see a carcass sitting in there, and it'll try to grab the carcass, and the trap closes on the daddy longlegs. This trap is fully closed. You can see a dark shape here. This is the insect, and the more it struggled, the tighter the trap got, and you can see how the lips are kind of peeled back because it's completely sealed along the top edge. Each trap can only open once, so it's not good to close a trap for no reason. As I set off a trap a few moments ago, it's not completely closed. It realizes that the plant will figure out no insect is trapped, and it will open again. But if you do this too many times, you'll kill your pitchers. It's also a myth that you can feed them hamburger. They're not really good at digesting these things, so it's best to leave them with insects alone. These are sundews in my terrarium. Sundews are another carnivorous plant. As you can see, they have little tiny hairs with little droplets of extremely sticky liquid on them. And many varieties of sundews, when an insect lands on the leaf will actually curl up around the insect, trapping it in the gluey, sticky mixture, which is also a digestive fluid. Very interesting fact about sundews is scientists have found that as an insect is approaching and hasn't landed yet, the plants start to get ready and start to curl up in anticipation of the insect landing, and scientists don't know why. So each sundew will put out a flower stalk, and it will produce a very, very tiny pink flower that blooms at exactly 12 o'clock and closes exactly 15 minutes later.
Good girl.
I hope with this knowledge that you'll at least try growing your own pitcher plants and Venus flytraps to help those endangered species. Also, don't forget to give this a thumbs up, a like, a share, and hey, even comment below if you have something you'd like to add. Thanks so much for watching.